I know we were expecting some new developments this weekend, but some of them have failed quality control. Make sure you indicate what you'd like redeveloped via the workstation.
Hello everyone and welcome back to F1 2018 Season 2. I do apologise about the lengthy delay between seasons, but we are back and running forwards here for the Australian Grand Prix of Season 2, still with Force India. As you saw at the start, between the season transition, I thought all upgrades would work, you know, no failure rate. As you can see, I have been shafted and 4 have failed, and that's meant that we're not going to be on par with Renault like I thought we were going to be. We are a long way behind them. And, yeah, we now need to make up for that in qualifying.
Welcome to Melbourne, where qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix should be getting underway shortly.
So here I am trying to make up for that in qualifying in my not-so-upgraded Force India. So let's see what we can do with maximum fuel mixture and hot lap mode. The one benefit we still have over Renault, who are still our rivals, of course, is the engine. The Mercedes engine in the Force India is still the most powerful, or, you know, one of the most. I think Ferrari is creeping up on us though, but Renault's still far behind there as we come through Albert Park, just pushing to the maximum. We're only half a second down on Bottas as we come through the second sector. Didn't quite take the fast chicane as committed as I would on my first lap. And then we're going to come through this final sector now, braking, try and hit the late apex, gone a little bit wide, utilise all the curb available to me there. And I'm just trying to get a time on the board realistically to see where we are going to fare, because to be honest, this was the first lap in anger. Of course, I'd done the practice programs, but this was the first lap at full-on attack mode that I had done for 6 weeks, 2 months. We come across the line, 22-1 puts us provisionally 5th. Not the best lap, so we go out for another run. I've gone wide. I'm only slightly up on my previous time. We're going to go and just maximise the curbs. I lost a lot of time in the final sector, but I've just pushed too much into the penultimate corner, gone deep, and that's the end of my qualifying session.
Great work out there today. How do you think it went? How are things between you and your teammate? Friendly or heated?
At the moment, pretty friendly. The competition's great for us, and we'll see what it does for the season.
Have you learned a lot from your battle with your rival?
I've learned that pretty much there was only negative answers here, so yeah, I had to go with one. And the aero of the car just couldn't push it through the corners as much as I wanted to.
New drivers, new cars, and a new Formula One season. But it's the same Albert Park that we've come to know and love for more than 2 decades now that hosts the first round of a 21 race championship, taking us from here in Melbourne, Australia, across the globe before we eventually reach the season finale at Yas Marina Circuit in Abu Dhabi. We're a stone's throw from the enormous Port Phillip Bay for today's race at the 3.3-mile Albert Park circuit. It's a bumpy racing surface here, and the 16 corners could prove especially difficult in the wet conditions. Watch out for a safety car at some point during the Grand Prix. I'm joined today in the commentary box, as I will be throughout this season, by a great racing driver, former F1 competitor, former world champion, and dare I say it, all-round top bloke as well. It's the one and only Anthony Davidson. And tell me, here we are, first Grand Prix of the season, and it's gone and rained on us. I imagine that that's not especially helpful for the teams, who are still trying to figure out, of course, what kind of performance they're all capable of.
First of all, Crofty, and thanks for the glowing introduction. I just want to say it's a real privilege to be here. I can't wait to see what this competitive field has in store for us this season. Now, in regards to the weather, you're absolutely right. You know, we've just come here off the back of testing. It's the first opportunity to really gauge where the reliability is, where the performance is, how you stack up against your competitors in the Grand Prix, and now it all has to be kind of put on hold for a bit. So now the question becomes, who can be adaptable? Who has the wet weather pace, and who can make best use of these difficult circumstances to come out on top in these conditions?
So before the off, let's remind ourselves of yesterday's qualifying session with a look at the starting grid. Sebastian Vettel will start on pole. Fantastic qualifying from the multiple world champion, edging out Raikkonen, who'll start P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Ricciardo, Nico Hülkenberg, and Verstappen, Sainz, Perez, Bottas, and Roman Grosjean. Magnussen, Alonso, Pierre Gasly, and Hartley, Stroll, Leclerc, Sergei Sirotkin, and Stoffel van Dorn, Ericsson, and the captain. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
So, as you've seen, wet race, and we're starting last. This is the setup that I'm going to be rocking. 8-9 wings, got to get that aero since I didn't get those upgrades that I needed. 70 on the on, 75 on the off. Few adjustments going into the Australian Grand Prix here. Saw a couple of comments about people wanting me to include my setup. So here's where you're going to see it just before the start of the race. Just going to be flicking through it here on screen, couple of seconds on each one. You can pause and take necessary notes should you so desire. To be honest, I don't really do much research. I just sort of cobble a setup together, try in practice, see if it works, rinse and repeat when it comes to that. But we have a wet Grand Prix at the start of the season in Australia as we build to the 5 red lights for the start of season 2. Lights are out and we are underway. Initially it looks like a positive getaway. We bump it up to Rich and then everyone disappears into the distance down towards turn 1. It's wet going into turn 1. I'm going to take this nice and cautiously up the inside so I don't get any spray into my face. That's a few overtakes done right there. I'm in a P17, and now we've got Leclerc, Stroll, Gasly, Hartley. We're going to pull to the inside once again to try and get the best view, but still be cautious down into turn 3. The Haas cars of Grosjean and Magnussen side by side for 11th and 12th. We pull ourselves up into 13th place there, so we have got a good few positions at the start of this Grand Prix as the 2 Haas cars are still side by side, and we have to go very delicately through turn 5 and actually tap the back of Grosjean there. And then we've got a Toro Rosso of Hartley up behind us, but he doesn't make a move. We slip down the inside of Roman Grosjean into turn 6. Fight the Force India through as it wanted to slide. Cold intermediates in pouring rain conditions, but that is us up into 12th place from the back of the grid, and the spray has already started to die down. Let's see if we can move up there any further through the field. As Perez, my teammate, I'm in 9th place, so we're not too separated as we go into the start of this Grand Prix. 29 laps ahead of us here at Albert Park, and on to lap 2. You can see we're taking a look at the tyres. Not too worn, just there, flicking through some of the information. A Grosjean with his Ferrari-powered Haas is going to try and have a go down the inside of the left-right chicane, but in the wet, it's just not an ideal opportunity to pass. We gave him the room, though. We didn't squeeze him too much, and he's going to be fighting us by the looks of things through this opening stint as we have dropped the Toro Rosso of Hartley in that pack. So we're effectively at the back of the midfield pack. The 2 Ferraris lead the way from Lewis Hamilton. And you can see here that the group ahead of me of Perez, Alonso and Magnussen has pulled up the road a little bit. Gap to them is 3.1 seconds. And we've got 4.62 to Perez. But we set a PB of 38.1. And we've got Grosjean up behind me, fighting quite hard, or at least trying to make a move. We go personal best again, but we're still 5 seconds. We're dropping back further and further from Kevin Magnussen, and that was then what was making me think, but like, okay, we're going to need to try and do something with the strategy here today if we want to make any further improvements up the field. The 2-stop isn't going to work for me today. I'll finish outside the points, and I need to try and get points as we do another personal best. Getting used to the conditions now at this point, into the 37s. I don't think the rain was improving much as we make a mistake through turn 1, but Grosjean thankfully far enough back to not be able to make a move on me. However, by the fast left-right chicane near the end of the lap, he is close enough, and we do squeeze him a lot more this time around to give him the look. Just because you got that one opportunity does not mean we're going to let you through. I'm going to make this Force India as wide as possible, and Perez appears to have broken away from Alonso and Magnussen up the road as Vettel sets the fastest lap on a 35.6. Good to know that we are a second and a half off the pace, and Danny Rick, his luck from the actual 2018 season carries on into my game as he pulls up at his home Grand Prix on the right hand side of the road. That now means we're chasing down Magnussen for 10th rather than 11th. We're into lean mix now. We're going to try saving some fuel at the end of this stint, and I just was not getting together with the conditions, and you know, just having not done laps on this game in so long, it's just the wet weather was not something I needed to get used to going into. This was a long recording session. I recorded 3 races on this day, and getting used to this car in the rain and getting used to the feel of the game again. It has had an update since. That's how long ago. I recorded and edited this file at the start of November. I'm doing the commentary on it. It's 9:09 AM on the 8th of December for those curious. By the end of lap 12, we've caught up with Alonso. He appeared to be slowing Magnussen down, and he appears to have some kind of issue for him to have backed himself up to me. And Grosjean is all over me while the rear of this Force India does not want to stay planted. But we're now closing up to the back of Alonso. Hopefully we can keep up behind him through the long final corner, not understeer wide, and hopefully utilise the power that we have up to high, up to Rich, in the slipstream of the McLaren Renault. of Fernando Alonso. Are we going to be able to make a move into turn 1? Alonso half-heartedly defends, but doesn't fully commit to the move. We go down the inside of turn 1, bump the curb, have to really counter-steer and slide the car. And thankfully, we've got ahead before Romain Grosjean has. Hopefully, Alonso can hold him up a little bit. We're up into 10th and a points-paying position here. And that was from the back of the grid, essentially, having not made a pit stop yet. So we now move on to lap 14. We're going to be coming in at the end of this lap. We are rich mix. We are hot lap mode. We have pushed as hard as we dare on this in lap as we swing wide. Take out the bollard because, of course, who doesn't like taking out the bollard here at Albert Park? And then we're going to slow it down. I slowed it down. It goes to show I was not used to like pit entry or anything. I lost a good couple of seconds there that I had built up over Grosjean as he was stuck behind Fernando Alonso. But Force India boys, they were good last season, and a 2.4 pit stop has sorted me right out. And we're going to be coming out ahead of Alonso, behind Magnussen. Are we going to get stuck behind any traffic? Doesn't look like it. The back markers in this race are very, very slow, apparently. So we've built up a nice bit of a cushion there. And now Magnussen had come in on the same lap, so he's like 7.5 seconds up the road. So now we essentially just need to try and put foot to the floor. Will we allow Grosjean to undercut us? Answer is no. At the start of lap 16, Grosjean goes behind us into 11th place. I accidentally hit my camera button, had to flick through. That was really annoying. Just to even watch that back was frustrating. We're trying to save fuel at this point and burn some ERS as well. You see we're in lean and high. 13 laps to go. Looks as if everyone else is going to be on a 1 stop as well, rather than a 2. And I'm now at the point on lap 18 where Grosjean has caught me back up. Yellow flags up ahead though, as you can hear from Jeff. And is that Magnussen moving slowly? In fact, he's crawled to a pretty much stop on the pit straight. We're going to come round the final corner. It looks as if we've gained the position. Grosjean not quite able to attack me. Magnussen pulling off to the side of the road, or at least well off the racing line. Magnussen appears to be out of the Australian Grand Prix, and that moves us up to 9th place. And there's a VSC as Magnussen approached turn 1, so they've put the VSC out. So we've got myself in 9th, Grosjean in 10th. Sainz is now at the road in 8th. I don't think we're going to be seeing him this afternoon. And Alonso is going to be picking up speed because whatever issue he had has probably been resolved by now. And he's going to be chasing myself and Grosjean down for a 3-way scrap for 9th, 10th and 11th in the final few laps of this Grand Prix. You can see that we're 18.1 seconds back from Sainz. So this is the fight that we're having, and it goes to show the pace difference between the Force India and the Renault. Saying that, it looks to be Perez ahead of Sainz on the minimap onto lap 22, and we're nearly a minute behind race leader. 50.1 seconds. That's not the pace we should be having. We need to try and improve this car, and like I said, I want to try and compete for wins going into this season, as Grosjean's going to have a little look down the inside of turn 3. He doesn't fully commit to the move though. It was a half-hearted feint. We gave him the room, and he wasn't quite able to make a move on us there through turn 3. So we go through turn 4 and turn 5. Just the back end of the car did not want to stay planted though, and it meant Grosjean through the sectors where initially I was faster than him to be able to start closing on me. You can see Alonso on the minimap much closer than he was before. And here comes Grosjean once again, going to try and make a move into turn 9. Most difficult corner on the circuit. We give him the room once again, but Grosjean pinches himself on the apex, can't get the traction. And you see Alonso lurking in the background as we now move on to the next lap, lap 23. And we're coming on to Romain Grosjean's favourite place to overtake here, down towards the left-right chicane. He's all over me. He must be utilising a bit of that ERS and a bit of battery deployments. He now pulls to the outside. First time he's tried that in this Grand Prix, but wasn't able to make the move stick, and he's actually cost himself a lot of time. He's dropped well back from me there. As we now come on to lap 25, I'm fighting the car through turn 9, and Fernando has now officially joined the party. You can see him there on the minimap within a second of Grosjean, who's now attacking me. I'm going to try the outside of turn 11 once again, but no. Push him out once again. Just have to keep straight and narrow on the line, and that's going to put him in the clutches of Fernando Alonso there, because he's cost himself too much time. So we're going to save some fuel, save some battery, as it looks as if we're going to need it coming into these final laps of the Grand Prix. I'm just fighting the car. It's not fun to drive in these intermediate conditions, if I'm 100% honest with you. I'm looking forward to getting this car in Bahrain on some dry conditions and seeing what it is capable of. Not a big fan of the Bahrain circuit myself, but we'll see what the car can do. Okay, so Grosjean's apparently a second lap faster than us, but he can only do that if he drops back to clear air. But he's definitely got the speed advantage at the moment, but only 2 laps remain as we defend middle of the road and then drift to the left for turn 3. We've gone a little bit deep. Managed to keep the car fairly stable, though. But Grosjean now in my slipstream. Is he going to try and have a pop into one of the final corners of the circuit? He definitely does. He rides the curb and actually understeers into us a little bit there. Definitely the sound of some contact between the two cars. Grosjean, that was one of his most ferocious attempts. Every attempt otherwise he had pretty much, pulled out of the move. But that one was a definite go. As we now come on to the final lap of the Grand Prix, Sebastian Vettel was won the race in the Ferrari, which appears to be the car to beat. Grosjean now trying to attack once again into turns 11 and 12, and I've actually used too much rich mix, and I've now got to run lean pretty much till the end of the lap, where I'm going to run out of fuel. So that's where you see my fuel display up. I'd noticed earlier on in the lap I'd pushed rich a little bit too much, and now I'm just trying to feather the throttle and use that high ERS mixture to try and keep ahead of these two cars while trying to keep the car straight and narrow, because it was not good on these worn intermediate tyres. We're just crawling around the final couple of corners, trying to get the maximum amount of traction, and of course not be too aggressive on the throttle, because we're still 0.2. Now we're in low fuel mode as we go up towards the line. Are we going to cut out just before the line? Yes, we do, but we just crossed the line in 9th place.
All your hard work out there. That was a strong drive and a good finish. Well done.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
So there you have it. Sebastian Vettel wins the Australian Grand Prix ahead of teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Hamilton brings it home in 3rd, with Hülkenberg getting 4th for Renault, beating out Verstappen in 5th for Red Bull. Bottas brings it home 6th. Perez, my teammate, in 7th. Sainz 8th, myself 9th, and Grosjean 10th, just able to defend from Fernando Alonso. Our DNFs being Magnussen and Ricciardo. The driver standings, of course, going to be the exact same as the finishing results. Constructors-wise, Ferrari with a full 43 points, 20 points already ahead of Mercedes. Then Renault in 3rd, Red Bull 4th, Force India bring it home in 5th, and Haas picking up 1 point in 6th. All other teams, Williams, Torres and McLaren and Sauber, yet to score.
Fans really seem to enjoy that. You made it look easy.
I certainly didn't.
You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you?
Yeah, pretty much all of them at the on the first corner. So, just saying the power advantage, because that's what I say. That's the best aspect of the car.
How did your team respond to the poor conditions today?
The team, I think, did well. They served me in the pit stop, is exactly what they needed to do.
Do you still have a lot to learn before you're at the same level as your rival?
I would disagree, but Perez definitely did a much better job today, and I had to just pick the most diplomatic answer.
Do you think you were lucky not to end your race with that crash?
The car was a little bit sideways at points, and it definitely didn't stick to the track.
Appreciate your time.
So there we have it. That has been the Australian Grand Prix of Season 2. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did, and comment any feedback down below. Wet race is never really going to work for me in the intermediate conditions. The 2018 AI cars are just really, really strong, and I was just lucky to be able to on this circuit where I knew I've done Australia so many times now throughout playing the F1 games. I know where the cars are going to attack and where I'm going to be good. So that helped me out in my battle against Grosjean. Next time out, we have the Bahrain Grand Prix. That's going to suit our car a lot more than this circuit, given the fact that it's much more power-based. So hopefully we'll be able to get some points there. And it'll be dry. If it's raining in Bahrain, I'll be very surprised. But that is next time out. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit subscribe if you want to be kept up to date with all the content that comes to the channel. And I will see you all next time.